a government that is battling with sustaining a policy that he made on the very first day of assuming office, and has been hit heavily by insecurity challenges that perhaps he did not bargain for. And some of the discoveries that when he came into office, he started discovering, despite making huge promises at the campaign grounds. Now being hit also on left, right, and center: infrastructure problem, economic problem, unity problem, issues of security, and all what have you. Where can that government go? It's over 9 months since assuming office. They will be celebrating or marking a 1 year in office. How would you describe the Tinubu government's outing since they got into office in the last 9 months? We'll be focusing on some of the past days' events and what this means for the future of this country and how we can hold the country together. Let me allow you to listen tonight to my guest, who is a former Minister of Communications and a lawyer, Mr. Adebayo Shittu. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure.
How difficult a time could it be for any government? I mean, do you ever think that the challenges could be this enormous?
Well, I would be surprised if anybody would tell you that the government is surprised at the situation of things. The Tinubu government knew that things had gone very bad and that it required a lot of courage to really face up to the challenges. So I believe that the government had bargained for this and that it is committed to rescue Nigeria from the problems associated with, governance over the years.
It is one thing to bargain that there is going to be a problem. It is another thing to envisage the enormity of the problem. And it is another thing to also bargain the manner in which you're going to solve the problem. So you imagine that based on the promises, renewed hope, the agenda of the Bola Tinubu government is taking slightly longer time to effect on the livelihoods and the food on the table of Nigeria. Look at the inflation rate. Look at the headline inflation. Things are really bad in the country.
Things are really bad. Of course, I know that things are really bad because I live in society and I am as equal a victim as any other person in Nigeria. But I want to give it to the government. The starting point we may want to remind ourselves is during campaigns, the three foremost presidential aspirants at that time all agreed that oil subsidy had to go. A situation where we have a country producing crude oil, which it became incapable of refining this oil. The consequence of it is that you have to pay in dollars to transport the crude oil overseas to overseas refineries. You pay in dollars to refine overseas. You pay in dollars to bring back the refined petroleum products. That adds a whole lot of, cost to the final products. And we learned that government had to be borrowing money to subsidize. So we were merely postponing the evil day. And this is a man who came, he said, look, I'm not going to be public shy. I'm not going to behave as if, I have a magic wand. I'm not going to behave as if there are no problems. And the president actually went ahead to say that nobody should sympathize with him. That means that he could courageously face up to the challenges. And for me, so far, the journey may be tedious. The journey may be taking much longer time than anybody would have anticipated. But I want to believe that by the time the government is celebrating its first year in office, Nigerians would have started seeing a change in the situation.
It's going to be at less than 60 days before this time.
You see the problem.
You're sounding like a prophet right now.
Well, I am convinced of this.
So I'm looking at the reality of things on the ground.
Yes, the reality.
You look at the indices, the inflation rate, Mr. Shittu.
Well,
you look at, there are those who have blamed this government of the manner, the policy they made in the early days. And they've criticized this government. Some of these policies may have made some missteps.
What is the specific area of criticism? if I may ask.
So some have criticized the manner in which they went about the removal of the oil subsidy, which they would say is at the bottom line of all of the economic challenges and affected food prices.
Maybe Nigeria would have drowned by now in debts, much more debts.
You don't think that there could have been a better way to manage?
Well, I don't know. Nobody has suggested a better way of doing things. Nobody, maybe
not announcing it on the first day.
Well, all the criticism, I mean, it will be a continuation of postponing the evil day. Because for every day that you are postponing the removal, you are incurring debts over debts and so on and so forth. Today, everybody agrees that states are richer. Even if the management of the added resources, we cannot express complete satisfaction.
Which I mean, it's also debatable, because if you were collecting 70 billion at some point and you're being given 140 billion, and times where you're getting 70 billion, the free inflation is half that now you're getting 140 billion, you perhaps are getting the value.
It depends on management. I mean, nobody has controverted the fact that Nigeria was living on borrowed times over the years because of this subsidy of oil. So I think what government must do and must be anxious to get done as quickly as possible is to get our refineries, which we have allowed to lay, fallow over the last 20, 30 years, to get all the refineries, not just one refinery, all of them, so that other countries now getting oil, I mean, to produce oil, even within West Africa. For instance, Ghana has recently discovered oil. A few other countries, even Senegal, if our refineries are working well, of course they will be coming to refine their oil here, and we'll be making a lot of dollars, a lot of foreign exchange.
Let's take a look at the crop of the team that the president had put together. And of course, you served in the Buhari government. And a lot of people have said that government in 8 years dragged Nigeria back, economically speaking. And you look at the team that the president has put together. It's 9 months now. What we got, the feeling we got was that there will be some intermittent appraiser of the performance of this cabinet member. It is not only President Tinubu that is in that cabinet. There are several others who are working in that cabinet.
I know that
from your point of view.
Yes,
I mean, what would you, in the last 9 months, how would you appraise that cabinet?
Nobody would doubt the fact that one of the star ministers of this government is Mr. Olubunmi. He has brought a whole lot of transformation in the area of interior, passport, whatever, and diaspora issues. So we must give credit. We never had it, this good, in previous governments over the last 30, 40 years. Your conclusion on the Buhari government, about the fact that the allegation that it dragged Nigeria several years back, a lot of people, as an insider, I know that even though in some areas the Buhari government, cannot beat its chest and say it has done very well. But in the area of infrastructure development, I want to assure you that over the last 30 years, it's the best in terms of performance. Provision of infrastructure development, it did best. Look, the last government of of Jonathan, it budgeted only 19 billion for roads and public works. Only 19 billion. And I can bet you not a quarter of that 19 billion was spent on any road. When Buhari came in his first year, he not only budgeted but spent 265 billion on federal roads. And that is why you find roads like Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which had been abandoned for more than 10 years. Resumption of work started and it's almost completed. In Oyo, Ogbomoso, Ilorin Road, similar action has been going on. You also recall that the Lagos-Ibadan train service and that of Abuja-Kaduna were done by the Buhari regime. So a government that has been able to achieve this much, again, that Wari Itapwe, rail services, was also done by the Buhari government. So when you are assessing a government, you don't just look at just one component.
It's not my own assessment.
No,
economists have said, and I've appraised that economy-wise, Buhari government dragged us 20 years
well,
back.
I don't know how many years he did. If it indeed did that, I have considered to the fact that it may not have done well in all sectors. But at least I'm telling you that in the area of infrastructure development, and you know, the support that infrastructure development gives to the growth of the economy. I mean, he did that very well, to his credit. No other government has done as much over the last 30 years in terms of infrastructure development. So, I mean, that too is a credit, you know, for the Buhari government.
Well, if you look at the kind of challenges that this government has faced, look at the decision of the CBN governor, look at the manner in which they handle the issue of Binance, which has, they say, about $25 billion when it was channeled through that funnel through the Binance platform without a trace, and the government is investigating it. There are those who are saying that there are fifth columnists that are trying to drag this country down. The kind of insecurity that we have also seen, and I mean, kudos to our security agencies for some of the rescue of the abducted persons that we have also seen. Would you say that there are those who are intentionally working?
There's no doubt that
to drag the hands of clock back under this government?
There's no doubt that there will always be fifth columnists in every government. Not necessarily part of the government, but outside that, who are opportunistic and want to benefit, you know, by cutting corners and by swindling, you know, the nation, you know. So these are realities. And I think we must also give credit to the Tinubu government for, you know, trying to bust, you know, the activities of Binance and all of that, to the extent that they had to ban them, and, you know, they are in the process of prosecuting them. These are realities that the government has to face, and I am happy that government had the courage of challenging the continuing operation.
For someone who served in the federal cabinet, I mean, you must have seen a few things that this government is doing that you think they need to look at critically and fix. What area would that be for you?
You see, the area of subsidy, I mean, the area of, it's not subsidy, palliatives. You see, what Nigerians need most, because no matter how much you share palliatives, it will never go right. There will still be people in remote areas who would, you know, be cut off from, you know, really benefiting from it. If I have my way as an always, I would rather use those money, spend it in the area of the greatest desire of an average Nigerian, the area of free and compulsory education, the area of free health services. If Nigerians are sure that the education of their children and the health of the members of their family are taken off by government, there will be less anger, and people will struggle and say that government is doing these fundamental things for us, so we must, you know, appreciate them and cooperate and collaborate and, you know, forgive whatever other inadequacies there exist. So for me, that is a more meaningful thing, expenditure, because of the security implication. Our late leader, Chief Aulo, had said, if you fail to educate the children of the poor, they would ensure that your own children cannot sleep with both eyes closed. Come to think of it, today you have more than 20 million out-of-school children. That is a ready, you know, production factory for bandits in the near future. Even the bandits of today became bandits because the society had abandoned them. And I mean, if you look at it, the other day, the Kaduna State governor was saying that there are more than 600,000, you know, out-of-school children. If government refuses because you want to use money for some other things which are less important, at the end of the day, when these children, these abandoned children grow up and they see other people enjoying life, they see other people riding cars, you know, wearing very good, you know, dresses and living in good housing, you think they would just resign themselves to fate? They will take up arms in rebellion against society. So for me, my advice, and this will not be the first time that I'll be, you know, campaigning, you know, as it were, or advocating that government should reorder its priorities and rather spend money, the money which is being used for palliatives should be diverted for, you know, establishment or expenditure on free and compulsory education, so that every child born in this country would be educated. Of course, once that is done, the quality of the individuals, would improve, and nobody who is educated would, in his right senses, think that he should be living in the forest or in the bush and, bearing arms.
I mean, this banditry matter and the insecurities that we have seen, it looks so much like there was a spike. What is the best ways to maneuver and kill
For me, if I'm in position, it is not too late to use non-kinetic measures, in negotiating with bandits, giving them a promising future. Let us retain them. Many of them are very intelligent. Many of them, are able-bodied.
To negotiate with the terrorists?
For the purpose of resettling, rehabilitating, and retraining them.
Those who are bent on killing innocent people?
I have said it. What is the cause of they wanting to kill everybody? It is because society had abandoned them over the years.
Abandoned?
Yes.
Do you even know who these bandits are?
Well, we know that they are citizens of Nigeria. We know
they are not.
Well, whether they are not, once we are within our territory, there must be a way. In Boko Haram, at the height of Boko Haram, when a lot of them were caught, of course they put them in camps and started reorientating them and all of that, and giving them skills and all of that. So the more skills you're able to give to the largest number of them, the less their propensity to go back. If they are assured that if promising future, erosive future awaits them after going through, this the radicalization processes and skills training.
So you are proposing,
because at the end of the day, the amount of money we are spending on the armed forces to confront these people, it looks like their number is endless. Because in the bush you have more than thousands of groups in the forest, particularly in the northwest and northeast. So instead of wasting too much money, on acquiring arms and ammunition and so on, let us rearrange. Let us find a way. After every war, there must still be coming, to a round table to negotiate.
So if you're saying negotiate with these bandits, isn't that an impetus for other people to carry arms? Because now they say they will think that whatever they are doing, they are bringing the government to his knees to negotiate with them.
Well, you see, whether you like it or not, banditry did not begin today, did not begin yesterday, and something must have caused it. We have to look at it. We have to, invite our psychologists, to come today to give us and let us find out, investigate what is the cause of banditry in Nigeria. When did it start? How did it start?
Mr. Shittu, even the coinage and the use of word the bandit it could be an initial word for those who will storm people's farms, storm people's homes, and cut away whatever they be. That describes a bandit. But people who goes into schools and cut away children in their school are no longer bandits. They are pure terrorists. I would refuse to call them bandits.
How do we solve
So how do you then describe a situation where the government now begin to sit down with these criminal terrorist elements?
The important thing for government is to solve this problem of banditry. If there are 100 ways of solving the problem, you have to try as many of those methods to ensure that we have peace, to ensure that these people lay down their arms and ammunition and to, add value to their own lives for them to be able to also contribute, to nation building.
Hasn't it become a major business enterprise?
It is
because they're collecting a lot of money for ransom.
There are possibilities. There are possibilities.
This state police debate. What do you think about?
Are they going to bring the members of the state police? Are they going to bring them from heaven? Will they not be the same Nigerians many of who are already in the Nigerian police? If you are criticizing Nigerian police for that they are not effective enough, are you bringing wizards and witches and angels for those people? Into the.
So you don't think state police is the way to go?
I want to believe that we already have a Nigerian police force made up of diverse citizens from all parts of the country. The only argument people clamoring for the state police is the fact that perhaps they post people who are strangers, aliens, to send it out, they post them to those places, and then they are not able to know, their left from the right. Let us improve on the, admission of people or employment of people into the police. Let us strengthen them. If it is that we should put people in areas where they come from or where they know better. There are a lot of Igbos, for instance, who were born in Lagos. There are a lot of Yorubas born in Kano, born in Sokoto, who know those areas more than their original places. So really that argument is, because my fear, you are trying to empower state governors more. And a lot of these state governors have really killed the third arm of government. I mean, the third tier of government. Because our federation is based on a tripod of federal, state, and local government. There's hardly any state in this country today where we have a local government system where people there are really local and are also governments in actual fact. Most of our local governments are neither local nor are they governments. They operate and exist as apron string of the respective executives.
If there is one way to handle some of these myriads of problems, because I'm very certain that President Bola Tinubu will want to write his name in gold and want to leave a lasting legacy. As your final word tonight, how would you think that he should go about this?
Well, the problems are already monumental and they are diverse. And because we worked for him, we supported him because of the legacy that he had in Lagos. We were confident that having run Lagos State successfully, by all standards, he has necessary experience and exposure, to be able to handle the nation as a whole. I want to believe that looking back, he must be able to reflect and use the same intelligence that God had given him, to manage Nigeria. I have no doubt in his capability of doing exactly that, having, regard to his antecedents and his exposure and all of that. And, one area that we have to work at, we always talk of our Naira, being weak. What are we producing as a nation? Which can earn us foreign exchange. We have a country with sufficient millions of acres of land, fertile land for that matter, in a country where the rain falls when it should fall, where the sun shines where it should shine, where there's nothing you grow in this country that does not have a market waiting for it at the international level. We must see agriculture as our number one priority in re-establishing it. And I want to commend the governor of Niger State for the vanguard position he's taking his state into. Agric is number one. Let everybody go into agri, particularly all the students, Nigerian students or graduates of agriculture. Government, what Awolowo did then was to establish farm settlements and deploy all the products of School of Agric Akure at that time into this farm settlement. We must go back to that. Get every graduate of agriculture into farm settlements, not as employees of government, but self-employed people. Give them land, give them equipment, give them seedlings, and give them some matching grant.
All right. Mr. Adebayo Shittu is a former Minister of Communication and a lawyer. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you. We take a break, everyone. When we return, we'll be talking about President Tinubu's approval of the Infrastructure Fund. What does this mean? We'll be finding out what this portend for the nation. The President's Special Advisor on Public Affairs, Aliyu Audu, will be speaking with me next. Join us again, everyone.